Okay, so I was just listening to a TikTok video about a man and his wife who went to the airport and basically saw like the Grim Reaper, even though it was a woman with dreads, and I don't know. Anyways, it was a pretty crazy story, and he was talking about how he really believes that he saw something that day, and he ended up having a heart attack and he survived and everything, but it was like an omen or something. And it just made me think about all of the weird things that have happened to me in my life. And there's this one story that I know nobody is going to believe. And I was with my family when it happened. And if it wasn't for the fact that my daughter saw the exact same thing and we both looked at each other and we were like, what the hell? If it wasn't for her seeing it too, I probably would have been second guessing myself as well. And I probably would have just been like, oh, it was nothing. It's not real. Or I imagined it or whatever. So anyway, we had gone to a Christmas show downtown at the Christmas market in Toronto. This was 10 years ago. And on the way home, we were taking the subway. It was me, my mom, a couple of my sisters, and maybe a boyfriend or two of my sisters, and my daughter. And we're taking the subway home. And as we were on the subway, I looked over and I saw a couple sitting in front of us, a man and a woman. The woman the reason why I noticed this couple was because, one, the woman was pretty. And two, she was holding a pamphlet from the same show that we had just watched. And I was like, oh, they were there. And she was holding a yellow rose. And I just kind of noticed them. Anyway, so we're sitting on the subway and we're going in the wrong direction. And one of us gets up and says oh my God, we're going the wrong way. And so I tell my mom, we have to get off the train and go to the other side. So we go the right way home. And so we all kind of panicked and we jumped up and we were waiting for the next stop. And then we got off the subway. We crossed the platform to get onto the other subway going in the opposite direction. And the second we stepped onto the correct subway going in the right direction, both my daughter and I looked over and then looked back at each other. And that exact same couple was sitting in the seats across from us. And we were like, what? Weren't they just on that subway over there, behind us? How is it possible that they could be sitting in the same seats on this subway? And both of us looked at the couple and we were and they had the same pamphlet, the same rose. She had the yellow rose in her hand. And both me and my daughter were like, what the hell? And we're looking at each other and I'm freaking out. I'm thinking in my head, that's impossible. It's impossible. I must be seeing things. And the whole way home, my daughter and I were we know what we saw. And my mom and everybody else was kind of I don't know, maybe, I don't know. Somebody had said maybe they got off on the stop before we did, but we're only on the train for one stop. And there's a reason why we noticed it. And it was just really strange. And so my daughter and I've also thought for years that there's a reason why we both saw it, both me and my daughter. And we've often said that we feel like something's going to happen with a yellow rose, or there's going to be some sort of significance for why we both saw that day. And we can't really figure out why or what it was or why it would have happened, but it was definitely something that both of us were like, what the hell? Anyways, I don't know if you believe me or not. It doesn't really matter because even I second guess myself sometimes, but I know if it wasn't for my daughter seeing it too, I would be like, there's no way, but we both know what we saw. Anyways, any interesting stories that you guys have to share? I'd love to hear them.